Stephen A., what does this say about Odell?
That he's an idiot. That's what it says. And I'm going to say that because I usually come to his defense, and he is not a criminal. He should not be treated as such. He is not a bad person. He should not be treated as such. He is not the kind of person that they have stigmatized him as being for the most part. I think a lot of things involving Odell Beckham Jr. has been over-exaggerated, and far more often than not, he's been victimized by the headlines, or villainized rather by the headlines. And I think he's been a victim more than he's been a villain. But in this particular instance, I'm completely annoyed with him. It was LSU's moment. It's not his. You're in that locker room. Of course, it's harmless. And to law enforcement officials out there, you know, our system, we got to really think about stuff, because I'm going to say this. As a black man, I don't appreciate the fact that there are headlines that read, there's a warrant out for his arrest, Odell Beckham Jr.'s arrest. Because if you're not following it, you're going like this, whoa, what the hell did he do? What the hell did he do? Oh, he slapped a security person on the backside while celebrating in the locker room. You see those headlines? It just doesn't mesh. And I just hate when they do stuff like that. So that's over-exaggerating. But nevertheless, you're Odell Beckham Jr. You should know better. Don't put your hands on somebody else. Don't be touching somebody else. Don't slap security officers in there working behind, after the game. He's doing his job, and you're going to slap him in the backside like that. It's very disrespectful. It's not respectful of the position that he's in and the job that he has to do. And I just think that Odell Beckham Jr. should know better than that. So to find yourself in the situation right now where you're making headlines, of course it's innocuous. Of course it might amount to just a little fine or whatever the case may be. But what the hell are you thinking?
I don't see it that way at all. I don't see it that way at all. I got to tell you, I came down on Odell when he's handing out the cash. Not at first. I thought he's geeked up. You know, they're letting the LSU alumni letting you come here. We're going to, hit you off. Big stars in the NFL care. We're going to hit you off. Just don't. But then Jalen Rose, I watched him on Get Up, and he convinced me. He's like, you're taking the shine away from the kids who just won, and now you're kind of creating a controversy. Don't make it about you. Okay. And I got on Odell behind that yesterday. This is in the locker room. You know what happens when you enter the locker room of the national championship team? Maybe the greatest season ever, right, in college football history, and they just won the chip. You know what happens? Everyone's getting smacked on the backside. Like, that's just... Now, did Odell use that as cover to take out a little aggression on a dude who he felt maybe was doing his job a little overzealously? That's what it looked like to me. But I actually think that gives him some cover here, to tell you the truth. Security guard seemed to me, it's not a cop, by the way, it's a security guard, seemed to me to be harassing like a player who's like, no, I'm drinking Gatorade. I don't know what was going on there, but it looked to me like maybe a guy, I understand he's doing his job, but Odell's like, come on, dude, and gives him a smack on the backside because he has, in a locker room under those circumstances, stuff like that's going on. Everyone's happy, geeked up, and celebrating. And so I actually do think it gives him plausible deniability, whatever his intentions were in this case. I'm not going to, if you're in the locker room of the championship team and you get smacked on the butt, whether you're a security guard or if it's me or you, Stephen A., in the locker room, and that, I don't think you can complain about that one, to tell you the truth.
During his time in Cleveland this year, we didn't hear anything really from him. He was a guy who went under some very trying circumstances, pretty much conducted himself exactly the way you would want him to if you were a head coach or general manager during his time with Cleveland. Well, it's just a shame that at this time, at this moment, he all of a sudden now has come back to the forefront, and now he's back in the limelight, and he makes a decision, again, that is harmless and benign, but nevertheless is negative, and now is going to drive a lot of agendas. Right now, like we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
It's driving an agenda right now. And then it's going to drive a lot of stereotypical agendas. And that's the kind of thing he doesn't need.
Odell is an emotional dude who wears his heart on his sleeve, and it consistently gets him in trouble.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. But ultimately, Max, you're going to speak about what's getting him in trouble. Even though you can attribute it to emotion and being benign and relatively harmless, and certainly his intent, you may say he didn't mean any harm, which obviously is, in all likelihood, is true. It doesn't take away from the idiocy of it, particularly in that moment. And I can personalize this, Max. You'll relate to the story. Lewis, I'll tip you off to this. Mm-hmm. I was involved in a similar incident, Max.
I remember.
You remember that years ago. Toronto in a particular game was giving it to Markieff Morris when he was on the Washington Wizards. I sat up there like, yo, man, they're giving it to you. You got to go handle your business. To his credit, you know, because he and his brothers are good people. They don't like me that much, but that's all right. I got love for them. But here's the deal.
Take it personal.
Yeah, I'm taking it personal. Don't like me. What I tell you, I don't have to talk to you to talk about you. This is my show. So this is the way it's going to be. But here's the deal. And what I'm saying to you, Max, is this. So I say give it to him, right? He goes out there. He balls. He comes by Riddick and slaps me in my backside. I laughed it off because I thought he was playing around, and I did call him out the game before to show up and handle his business. So I'm like, it's no big deal. No big deal. No harm, no foul. Then this dude goes in the paper and tells somebody, well, that was the only thing that I could get away with because, I'm paraphrasing here, I had a more malice intent. I didn't know that because I promise you, if I had known that, there would have been an entirely different reaction, okay?
Right.
So I'm just saying, you don't
So
know.
in other words,
what Odell Beckham Jr. is thinking in that moment in time.
But Stephen A,
You don't put your hands on somebody else.
In other words, in an atmosphere like on a sideline of a game or in a locker room when people are celebrating, smacking someone on the backside, there's plausible deniability.
Yeah.
In other words, before you could divine his intentions, because he didn't reveal them, you assumed it was in the context of a sporting event. That's the kind of thing that happens, and you were good. It wasn't until he revealed his intentions that you had a problem.
Right.
Odell didn't come out in the paper and said, I'm trying to hit this guy.
But wait a minute.
So the plausible deniability remains.
But let me ask you this question. What I'm saying, I'm getting to a bigger point. And the bigger point is, Max, because I don't know your intent, all I got to go on is that you put your hands on me. So what if that security officer had turned around, and punched him right in his face? What were we going to say to the police officer? I'm just saying. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.